Hey everyone, welcome to this commented run of a deck that I was running on a challenge last week. Now, I didn't make top 8 with this, I just made 4-2, but I still feel like I haven't seen much content other than the initial video from Justin, and this deck moved in a little bit of a different direction. So I thought it would be an interesting run just to see other possibilities and like how this deck would play. So just analyzing it after having played a little bit more, you are basically just a hard disruption and also like relatively hard clock, or fast clock, sorry. So basically, you're just playing all of this disruption for the meta and also and you could think of Bowmasters as well. So all of this tells us we're trying to either cap the combo decks that require full Moxen or just rely on artifacts and some capacity between all of these. Mai also puts a big tax on casting like non-creature spells, which we play a lot, very few of, but also we just have some amount of life gain, so we can play around this all right. Bowmasters for the draw decks like Bazaar, sorry, not Bazaar. Also, it is pretty okay against Bazaar, but Jewel, PO, the typical and plus one ring decks. Thoughts is also to try to disrupt our opponent and just misstep because it's free. This is a little out of place. I wonder if this could just be 4th Mai, but 1 mana for countering something. Usually it's gonna do an ancestral or trying to get something like Soul Ring, Mana Ball, that sort of thing. We are also playing full Moxen, minus the Opal obviously, and 1 Lotus Petal. And the idea here is that you wanna be able to play either 2 1-drops, like this one, like Guide of Souls into Oswald Pride is relatively strong, or something like Oswald Pride into Thoughtseize, or just Dark Confident plus something else, or just like a Stony Silence, So you're either dropping 2 1-drops on turn 1, ideally with Disruption, or a 2-drop that is either going to add Disruption to the board, or just make your next turns better. You abuse the Dark Confident a lot in this deck because we cap out at 2. And so at most we're taking 2 damage from every card. We have all of these to gain life, and we're just trying to keep going with the disruption. So to keep our opponent off the foot, you do not want to go much along with this deck. It's very much about making the game small. And in the sideboard, we continue with just like the combo. So 3 Mindbreak Traps, State of Ring Silence. Mindbreak Trap just on the draw to try and not die against the super all-in decks, because generally if you're a combo deck and you see a deck that is all hand disruption or permanent disruption but no forces, you're gonna try and win before they can establish the lock pieces. And so Mindbreak Trap can help us on that front. 3 Serenities for shops. I am not sure after playing it if I even think I need this Serenity, to be honest, but it was there. So when I was starting to play this, I thought maybe this should be just Seal, the white Seal of Cleansing, or something else. After playing with this deck a little bit more, I don't know that you're gonna struggle against shops, to be honest. Obviously, it's gonna be very play draw dependent, because if they deploy a lot of spheres, you're not that set up for that. But I still feel like, I don't know, this could just be something like Cage or something like that. I think gets a little bit more leeway. But still, we played Serenity for Priest because obviously we're a full creature deck, and so Oath is really difficult for us if they establish an Oath. And so for Priests plus Dredge Hate, as I mentioned in my first analysis, I think this deck is pretty well set up against Dredge already, and 1 Torment Script is like just something else. I don't know if this is where you want to be, but you are unlikely to keep Bubble against Dredge, although you can. In the event that you are, this crypt might be a little strange. Tabernacle is hard because we don't play, like it's also bad for us to play Tabernacle, but we're also not playing like Demonics or Bumps or anything like that, so we have no tutors. So just basically trying to draw this Tormod other than with Dark Confident. This could just be Soul Guide, plays a little better with our Lurrus. I don't know, a couple things that we can change. But anyway, let me just start this recording. I had to go through the MDGO recordings, so we'll just take a look at those. And very interesting, I'm just gonna take account of whether we are winning or losing based on play draw. So in this one, we are on the play. So on the play against, I believe it's initiative. And so just starting with this hand. Against initiative, this hand is pretty good because we are deploying our Stony Silence and an Assault Pride, so our opponent cannot go fast, and then we can just start with Marsh Floods for a Surveil into a Strip Mine for their first land. So already pretty well set up. We are not really resilient to Mindbreak Trap, and so in this case I want Stony Silence to resolve first. I'm going to slow up the speed because this already recorded fast. And yeah, just play that. Our opponent goes into Void Mirror, which we're fine with. None of our zeros work under Stony Silence, so this is just basically our opponent taking 2 damage for free. Surveil, and we see a Dark Confident, which I really want to have. But first, I want to slow them down a little bit more. So I'm going to attack first, Strip Mine the Ancient Tomb. And this is because Initiative needs 3 drops. They cannot play any of their Moxen, and so in this case, I just want to get a few more shots with Assault Pride, see if I can slow them down. Like maybe that's their only soul land and they just have, you know, Cavern plus something. But no, they go for another Ancient Tomb. And so here I just attack. Normally I would play this Petal, even if there's a Stony Silence, just to go to the City's Blessing faster. But obviously it's getting countered by Void Mirror, so no need. Play Dark Confident, and opponent plays a Cavern on Dragon and kind of stops us for a bit. So here we're just going to start drawing. We draw Thoughtseize, which we're going to cast. And we see, sorry, I think I went a little too back. As the recording starts, I'm just gonna start stopping more. But here we just see basically a hand that doesn't cast any spells unless they get another planes or something like that. So here I think I would take Clarion Conqueror, and I do, just so that they cannot play more cards, and basically take a gamble that if they get another planes, then, you know, the game is a little more difficult. But if they play the initiative, we can still take the initiative with our cat token, so whatever. Our opponent draws another dragon, and so far Strip Mine has our planes, but we can play our spells, so that's fine. We keep drawing, and here I'm just gonna buy Lurrus because we have enough lands for our next turn to do a cute trick that we can do. Our opponent doesn't draw anything that they can play, and so here what we're gonna do is just attack with our Assault Pride. And we also get in with a couple more. I think I'm attacking with the Dark Confident because basically I know you're only blocking 1 card. You're likely to block the Assault Pride because you want to stop it from drawing, but generally this Dark Confident might be not incredible, but I also have my next 2/2 drops lined up, and so I felt like this was fine. But potentially you don't want to attack with the Dark Confident. I'm also trying to just put a little bit more pressure because we are dying in 2 turns, sort of, even if we don't get there. Even because of Lurrus and us. Maybe with Assault Pride we're getting 4 life, so we will be at 14. Our opponent hits us for 3. We hit back with everything. Yeah, so they cannot attack anymore. And so here's the trick, right? Because we already gained life with Assault Pride, we replay it with Lurrus. We have already seen the life gain, and so we're going to get another token. In this case, 2 tokens because you get the City's Blessing. Opponent attacks with all and then counts a little and sees that they're dead. So for the next one, I believe because I'm on the draw, my sideboard was just out with the Stony Silence and out with Chalice, 1 Mox, and Bubble, because I wanted to play 3 Mindbreak Traps for their fast starts and also 4 Containment Priests for more creatures and also to fight the last room of the initiative, but more about just having more creatures. Chalice and Bubble are pretty ineffective against them on the draw because they already have all of their stuff, and usually they also play the Clarion Conquerors and the stuff, so I expect them to also play those. TBD, but honestly, that's much better for us on the play. On the draw, this hand felt very bad, and the reason is, I could play a turn 1, but if my opponent goes for Void Mirror or Bubble, a Archon, like there's so many cards that are just bad for me, and I have too many 2-drops with no land, so hard pass. This is very risky to keep because obviously I have no land. This probably would have to give me a lot of leeway. I believe I also don't keep it. And here I just keep a 7 with Thoughtseize and a couple stuff. And I'm thinking, okay, well, I can just go, you know, Ocelot Pride on Dark Confident to just recoup. I don't think that wasteland is going to be enough because they're going to deploy very quickly. And so here they had a Chancellor, and so I don't want to play my pride into Chancellor, but honestly, it feels like I just don't have time to play around. So honestly, just pride, throw the pride into the void and then just do something with it. But yeah, I feel like here I'm just too far behind because they're just gonna see my cards, just name Marsh Floods or whatever. Even if I played pride, they hit me for 5 and then they hit me for 13. So that's already just too much for me to come back, and so I decided to scoop and move on. On the play also, we're just like much more favored. And so here I think you're gonna see, yeah. So the Mindbreak traps come out because now we don't need them. We much rather have our Chalice, our Vaccine Bubble, and the Mox just so that we can play a 2-drop on turn 1. A hand that is meh, medium. The plan here would just be either you play Mai and plow something on the get-go, or just Bowmaster, which I don't think is good here. So I'm just gonna go with Mai. Our opponent doesn't have the Chancellor, so play Mai, and our opponent is gonna take a huge penalty for trying to go fast. So 2 from the Chrome Mox, 2 from the Mana Crypt, another 2 for the Mox Ruby. So this Mai already has done 6 damage to our opponent. And almost best case scenario, because he's engineered, but we get wastelanded, so we need a plow, and we get, you know, kind of we're gonna waste a lot of mana here, but that's fine. In fact, I think I forget, but I should have just bought Lurrus here. It's fine. Actually, no, I don't want to buy Lurrus because I want to attack with Mai, get my swamp, and then just play Bowmaster just to have more bodies. And yeah, my opponent just scoops. But here you can think about, okay, well, if you play something, I'm just Bowmastering, and just this is going to be a 4/4 first striker, and so it's easier for me to continue with the initiative. But yeah. So on the play against initiative, we won. Let's see round 2. Round 2, we're on the draw. With a hand that is very good, quote unquote, against a artifact deck or like a Mox deck if we get to untap. I don't think I like it as much on second thought, but I think I was putting my opponent on Raker, which in this hand I felt was fine-ish. But it's initiative again, and so with initiative again, I'm just gonna play my land. They play the Void Mirror, so I don't need to play either the Chalice or the Bubble. In fact, I cannot even play the Chalice right now. So there might be a world where I can Chalice for 3. I don't think so, but we'll get there. So my opponent just played a, again, I'm all to 5 with potentially a Dungeoneer hand. I am known for playing a lot of Breach, and so it stands to reason that my opponent might think that a Void Mirror could be a good stoppage. But play our Dark Confident, again, another card that I can't play, Gitaxian Probe, so no need to just lose life for nothing. And as we expected, a Seasoned Engineer, which in this case is pretty bad for my opponent because I'm just gonna plow it and move on with life. We draw Stony Silence, which doesn't matter because again, Void Mirror stops all the artifacts. I'm just gonna plow, attack at my planes probably, and play Mai. And from here, it's hard for my opponent to get back because the next thing they play, again, I'm just gonna plow. Mai is gonna be a 4/4 first strike. Even here, I can just say, okay, well, Mai just becomes 4/4 first strike, attack. See what you do. Do you do something? No. I'm gonna Thoughtseize them, even though I'm taking 4 damage for these Thoughtseize. And I see Chrome Mox that they can cast, Witch Enchanter, which is a blocker, I guess. I just don't want to... I mean, I have to pick something, so I'm just picking the thing that they can cast. Again, plow, I just Bowmaster Ambush. Here I would just trade, honestly, just delete it. And so moving on. So on this one, we're still on the draw. I think we do the same sideboard as before. So yeah, we took out... In this case, I took out Probe. I guess in my mind, it's like, well, Mox, at least maybe I can cast and still get things going for me instead of the Probe. Honestly, it's just kind of whatever. It might be more important to have the Mox in case that I get like a turn 1 where without the... if I get a turn 1 without Void Mirror and Vaccine Bubble and Dragon, the Mox is more important than just the Probe. So yeah, let's see what our opponent has in store for us. We get an okay hand. This could be a Bowmaster plus Plow or Bowmaster plus Thoughtseize, depending on where we want to go. Unfortunately, we had the Surveil already, but the opponent just keeps 5 again. No, multi 4, sorry. So on 4, it's just very hard for them to do much. So they play a plains, and I'm like, okay, well, that means that you have a 3, so I'm just going to Thoughtseize and see what you have. There's 2 lands and Light of Day, which isn't even that good against us, but it's there. It's the only castable and the only thing that I can take, so there you go. So there's a Wasteland and a Cavern. We just play our stuff, and we play our Dark Confidant. Just to start drawing, they draw Mox Pearl, and here, I mean, generally it's just over. Yeah, that's their only good, only source of mana. They had to mull very hard, so mull to 5 on game 1, mull to 4 on game 2. So yeah. Anyway, round 3 this time. Against my friend Black Decks on Dredge, sorry. It's a deck, I think, that should have a okay matchup against Dredge, but of course, it is Black Deck, so what can you do sometimes? Okay, so we open a hand that is unkeepable, especially because I already know what my opponent is on. Now, I say unkeepable. On second thought, it's maybe playable. Relatively risky, but you can start with Vaccine Bubble and make sure that everything that you play resolves. Wasteland for the first Bazaar, and then you're praying to get just any white source to start the Guide Soul Strains going. But usually, if your opponent keeps 7 on Bazaar, you can expect at least 1 or 2 forces, and just really wastelanding the Bazaar and going on nothing is just not a plan. Especially on the play, I'm looking for something a little bit more powerful, and I found something a little bit more powerful. Now here, I think what I should be doing is just putting back this Mai or this Guide of Souls, one or the other. My first strike is very relevant against Dredge. They have 2 creatures that are X1s between Ichorid and the Silver Mode Ghoul. If you have a Mai and an Assault Pride, you can also just Stonewall the Amalgams. And here, one sequence that you could do, because in this case I do need my Dark Confidant to resolve, is to go for a Marsh Floods for Scrubland, go Black Lotus for black, Thoughtseize them, take the Force, play Dark Confidant, play Guide of Souls, or play Guide of Souls, play Dark Confidant, right? Either of those orders works, and then you either have a Guide of Souls to follow up because you only have 1 land, or if you want to be a little bit more risky and you think that Mai can get you there, sorry, that Dark Confidant will get you like a mana source after, you can just play the Mai. So yeah, let's see how the match plays out. So yeah, we just go fast start. It's possible that maybe we're supposed to go like, also with this keep, right? Like just Mai into Dark Confidant. But yeah, regardless, we play it like that. Opponent just discards of our last card. And we're basically at the mercy of whatever is on the top. We don't have a Wasteland for this Bazaar. Opponent just playing a bunch of stuff. At this point, if I get a Assault Pride, we're still okay because it could just scale very quickly, but it has to be basically just this turn or nothing. Bazaar, I could just Wasteland, but if I'm thinking of just taking a turn for that, their graveyard already has Troll, 2 Thugs, and enough that basically, also Shambling Shell, there's enough in the graveyard that just on slow dredging they can win, so Bazaar, the Wasteland is not a sufficient card right now. Also with Pride, again, maybe 1 turn too late, but you know, it comes when it comes. And here, I have to block the Ichorid because there was a chill, I believe. Now there's a chill, which means that I cannot block the Silver Mode Ghoul because it's going to come back on their turn. So I need to just kill the Ichorid, champ the Hollow One. That champ might, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So let's say I get a Bowmaster. If I keep that, I go to 8. No, still nothing. I don't think there's any change of me doing that versus not. Attacking with the Pride. I need to attack with the Pride to make the tokens. Or the token, rather. But it's going to be just one turn too late. Again, this game looks a lot different if I end up getting, like, the... If I end up getting the Dark Confident instead, right? We already saw the draws were just a couple of Wastelands and the Assault Pride. And so if we were able to resolve that, and also just buy what our opponent milled, I think they just had one Force of Will in their hand. So relatively it was in our hands to maybe win this game. And here I just take some blocks. Doesn't really matter because it's just too much damage. And so round 2. Where we are basically just putting the Stony Silences and the Chalice, and we're bringing in 4 Containment Priest and the Tormod Script. A hand that I just don't believe in the Wastelands, to be honest. So already I'm ult to 6, opponent powders and keep 7. And here, you know, I don't like this hand personally, but it's fine. I think I'm going to put back Probe because they either have a counter spell or they don't. Oh no, I put back Containment Priest. I don't know if I like that because, like, I mean, I need to get into a White Source eventually. Misstep I'm keeping so that if they have Noxious Revival after my first Wasteland, I can stop them. We see their hand. I don't know that I show it, unfortunately. But yeah, it was a Bazaar with some powders. Real land I'm gonna plow right now because honestly, I think I knew their hand, so I'm not showing it here because I forgot, but must have seen something. And here we're just like, you know, slowly at the mercy of our deck. Our opponent has at least 14 worth of dredge, which is quite significant. Just one Narcomium with no amalgams, luckily for us. And yeah, again, here, if instead of this misstep we had kept, well, it doesn't matter because they grift us, right? So they would have taken the Priest. With Priest, I feel a lot more comfortable here instead of this misstep because we're just not dying. But yeah, we needed an Assault Pride pretty quickly here. Although we are at the point where something like a Bowmaster is probably sufficient. We got the Lurrus in case we just draw another, or like a Mox or something. Tormod Script is a little too slow right now. And we just don't draw anything, and we just die. So game 2, a little unfortunate. Maybe we could have kept something better. Game 1, I think we could have played such that at least the Dark Confident is in play, and we can still play the game. But yeah. Going on to round 4, where we are also on the play. Our opponent has Chancellor, and so here, I think what I would be doing is just throw the Probe, then Thoughtseize, Bowmaster, Assault Pride. That's probably what I'm doing. Let's see the hand. So we see a hand that is relatively reliant on this Chrome Mox because they only have 1 fast mana. So I'm like, okay, I think, yeah, here I'm just going to pick Chrome Mox so that they have a bit of a rougher time developing. They can still cast an Archon on 2, so that's annoying. But also their land is going to be Caracas or Witch Enchanter, both of which I can take out with Wasteland. So kind of like trying to get sufficient advantage on turn 1, sorry, that I kill them. And our opponent just scoops. So probably their draw was not fast enough. I don't think that this is even close to being over, but our opponent scoops and just moves on to the next one. I think we're going to have a similar sideboard. I'm interested to see, yeah. So from our first game, I already decided that Mox Ruby was better to keep than Gitaxian Probe, and we did the same change of like Stony Silence out for Containment Priest, and then our Probe, Chalice, and Bubble for 3 Mindbreak Traps on the draw. And an okay keep. We have a turn 1 Thoughtseize with Absolute Pride, and also a follow-up Containment Priest. In Strange, obviously Bugler's best start for our opponent. Anointed Peacekeeper for the Thoughtseize. So this to me tells me, okay, especially because of these planes, I'm like, okay, no Moxen, which means that their hand has to be just lands and big dudes. I'm just going to throw all of my weight on these Thoughtseize to slow them down. I think I'm going to show the cards after, but yeah, so this is what we saw. We saw Ancient Tomb, Chromox, Clarion Conqueror, Wasteland. So I'm taking the Clarion Conqueror because this Mox doesn't do anything, and our opponent is going to Wasteland us, but we have the lands to keep playing. And yeah, so basically our opponent's hand right now is Ancient Tomb, Chromox, and Unknown. This Anointed Peacekeeper is just going to be a 3/3, so that's fine. And here I'm just going to probably just play Confident. Yep, just so that I can start recouping cards. Our opponent drew an Anointed Peacekeeper and plays Ancient Tomb, and that just goes for a Archon of Absolution, which is pretty good. The only way I think that I can kill it is just double Bowmaster. Or if they're attacking, just make too much of a board. Even having to pay 1, you can usually make a big enough guy that you can attack. If I make this Dark Confident into a 4/3, I can just attack through it. So relatively annoying for us, but still doable. So I already got my first Bowmaster, and I'm just wastelanding them to slow them down. Plow, I cannot plow their card, but here I'm just like, okay, well, I'm just plowing that, attacking. I forgot that I couldn't pay if I don't grab my Marsh Fudge right now for the Confidence. Since I'm not playing anything, might as well just attack. Although, thinking back on it, because I have Mindbreak Trap in my hand, it's possible that or in my deck, the chances of me dying to this are relatively high. So yeah, I just pay, make a dude, so that I survive. Here, I'm probably just going to Surveil. Opponent just plays White Plume, which means that this Archon is going to be untapped, which means that I cannot get in with the Absolute Pride for the life, and just generally just going to die here to this Archon. So yeah, pretty good tech if they had it available. And so I'm going to go on the play, and again, now we're just going to go back like Mindbreak Traps. I think I kept 1. I don't know that I agree, because I'm going to try to play Bubble turn 1 if I have it. So it could be a dead card, and also makes our Dark Confidence a lot worse. But still, I keep 1 just in case. Let's see, our first hand, I think it's just unkeepable. Yeah, I cannot keep this with no stable mana, even with 3 plows. It's just impossible. This is much better. We cannot go do the Dream of Guide of Souls, Pride, but there's sufficient here that we can do some stuff. So, for example, just Marsh Flats or start with Mox Jet and see their hand. You have to put 1 card back, which I would say here would just be maybe a Pride. So here I would just go just second thoughts. Mox Jet Thoughtseize, see their hand, pick whatever, and then decide whether it is sufficient to go guide into Pride, or if there's nothing really going on for them, I can just Pride first. Now, of note is that this Chalice means that they cannot play a turn one creature, which also means that I could just forsake this Guide of Souls and go Assault Pride turn 1 into attack, play Assault Pride turn 2, and have enough creatures that hopefully I can just fight for the initiative or just overwhelm them much faster. But because I saw also the Archon of Absolution, I'm kind of like less inclined on doing something like that. So yeah, thoughts is first, see what's in there. We see a hand that it actually just folds to this Chalice. The only thing that I need to worry here is this Plow, and so I'm just going to get rid of the Plow and play Chalice on 0, play Assault Pride, because I know that not only that, but my opponent does not show a Ancient Tomb or something like that, which means that at the earliest it's next turn, but probably it's going to take them 2 more turns. And so here I just take Plow so that they cannot fight the Archon. I'm taking Plains because I don't need to expose myself to a Wasteland. And just play the Chalice and pass. Opponent tests it. which is in paper only play, I guess. Also Pride attack, and here I just play this Guide of Souls. And next turn, again, they probably just didn't draw land, and here this is just unstoppable, because they don't know it, but like literally just any creature turns on my Assault Pride into a 3/3, and I would have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. One more permanent, let's say a land, I just get the see this blessing, and it's just like all over from here. So we are, if you're counting, we are undefeated against initiative. We've won 3 matches against initiative and lost to dredge. We're on the draw here with a starting that is just not good enough against non-Lurrus. Just not good play to get started. And here I thought, okay, well, this is... Can I see my starting hand? Nope, we just go straight to mulligans. So probably had another white card here, because I can start with Absolute Pride and Dark Confident, and that's probably where I would go. So Time Vault Manifold Key, so we're basically dead to any colorless mana. So I'm just gonna do my best to try and get there. I should have definitely played the Absolute Pride here. I think I'm keeping the pedal because right now I'm just dead on board if they find something. So my thought here is like, well, if one of my top cards is Stony Silence without white, at least the pedal lets me stay alive. My opponent has the land, and so it's over. Here we just scoop. Game 2. So on the draw against, sorry, on the play against what I think is Raker at this point, and so I'm just cutting 3 of these, and I believe I'm just bringing in Deafening Silence so that they cannot explode on me as much. It's TBD. I think maybe Chalice and Vexing Bubble are not that bad, but like because of that workshop and all of that, it's just not as useful. So yeah, Deafening Silence and a hand that is actually pretty strong. It is obviously extremely all-in because we are either making 3 black, so we are just going either triple black for Thoughtseize, Dark Confident, Pearl with Deafening Silence as our last spell. Alternatively, we can go Dark Lotus, Pearl into Absolute Pride, Deafening Silence. Oh, sorry, Absolute Pride, Stony Silence, and Deafening Silence, and then just stay with 0 mana. So I think I take the Dark Confident route, and the reason is that having Pearl up means that my next play, I could play conceivably the Stony Silence from play, but it's also good to just establish this Dark Confident early because the deck is really hungry for cards. We're throwing in a lot of stuff, like we're going very all in with this hand, and so I think Dark Confident is just better. Opponent moves to 5. Yeah, and also just one thing to consider with this. Let's say that we go, I mean, in this case, maybe it's not as bad, but there are a lot of ways that this goes wrong for us if we go all in. Let's say they go like workshop pass, right? We attack, we don't get another land. So, or even if we get another land, we are like relatively stuck with these cards in hand unless it's exactly a swamp. And then second workshop or even workshop automaton just like relatively stops us because it's like workshop automaton and play an artifact just for that. That's just a 2/2 that already blocks our Absolute Pride, and we have no forward progress. And even then, if they just go workshop pass and we attack again, they go workshop into the Masticore, it's just like already pretty bad, right? So more cards here makes more sense to me. And so from here, I'm like, okay, well, given my cards, right? My opponent cannot play anything turn 1, which that's generally the case if you play Deafening Silence. It would have to be exactly Monolith for Gloating Face Raker. And so here, I think the card that I'm scared the most is Agent to Massacre, so I'm just going to take it because it's the only one that can deal with my threats. And, of course, Deafening Silence last. It doesn't matter because Dark Confident I can still play, but yeah, generally like that. Opponent just plays Sol Ring to set up for next turn they can play Ring. If they get another land drop, they can get Face Raker. And so here I just draw my Dark Confident and Orcish Bowmasters. So again, imagine the opposite sequence where I just have that. I'm just locked under these mugs, and you know, I got rid of the Argentum, but one can foresee that just it's a little difficult for them to debug this Fresh Raker. But I thought that it was better to just slow them down a little and trust that eventually I'm just gonna get a land. And here I get rewarded, sort of. No, that still is bad. Like, it's still with their other play that's sufficient. Although if they get like what's his name, a Tallow Gates, they can still get rid of Roswell Pride. So yeah, opponent establishes the One Ring and draws, gets another workshop. So right now their hand is just Flash Raker plus Unknown. Strip Mine, which is great because this Confident dug me through 2 cards, and so now I can just develop my Stony Silence and pray that this is sufficient, right? Because right now I don't have colored sources, and I need my opponent to whiff on another Masticore or on any creature, really. I cannot attack again because my opponent has protection. Just get rid of the land so that the Masticore is harder to play. And we're going to be here for a bit until I get that. I just play another Deafening Silence just to have more permanence and also, you know, insurance against the Masticore. Continue drawing, and here we're just on the waiting room for any land. Next attack gives us the initiative, the City's Blessing. And here my opponent just takes 4, which I think is the first time that they were able to play this card because of the Talon Gates. Yeah, so, but still, they're just like at 3, it doesn't matter. And last game, which I believe I don't make any changes, but I might be bringing Mindbreak Traps. Yeah, so I decided to bring in the Mindbreak Traps on the draw. And so I'm cutting 2 Deafening Silences and 1 Plains for that. The reason is generally the same, right? Like, yes, my opponent, like Deafening Silence stops my opponent from killing me with the Raker combo, but they can have enough board presence that it's just not tenable, right? Like, they can just bomb in their hand in turn 1, and so I value that much less, and so I just need to stay alive for a couple turns, and Mindbreak Trap is the way to go for that. And so here I kind of, it's like relatively tentative. I have my 1-off Deafening Silence, and so the plan here is just like either Deafening Silence to gain time and then Stony Silence follow up, or play Caracas, hold up Plow, and then play the stuff. And so here they play Masticore, and I have a thought. I can do a couple things. So first is just Caracas pass, wait for the upkeep for them to discard something, and then Plow. But I can also just die to Flash Raker, so I can hold up this Plow. Could also just Wasteland them from Ancient Tomb, because that is one of their best lands right now. And with this, again, I'm not playing the Mox because it's just an easy target for the Masticore. No reason to do that. Wait for them to discard, and then I'm still going to hold. I can definitely take 5 damage, no worries. Opponent plays the ring, and so here my plan is already made. I'm just going to Plow, play Mox, play Wasteland, and punch them. And I'm throwing away these Mox because already I have the Caracas. Caracas is not going to be destroyed anytime soon. Opponent passes, and now we have this number of Deafening Silence Mindbreak Trap, but I'm still gonna do it as insurance for later. There's a clock on my opponent's side, and so having this One Ring is pretty disruptive for them. Play the Swamp, and here I think I should be just playing either Confident or Mai. Probably Confident because Mai is not going to kill them fast enough. Especially because Deafening Silence kind of stops them from taking more than 2 damage. Just passing with Bowmasters is kind of ineffectual because there's nothing really that I want Bowmaster here. And if I have to play against like Masticore or something like that, I want to be drawing my Plows. Time Ball doesn't matter. So yeah, we're just Bowmastering to start putting pressure. Here I think I play the Mai, but it would be wrong. Now play the Dark Confident, makes sense. Which should have been the play before. But yeah, they phase it. And here, just play Chalice on 2, which, you know, it's effective. And now I'm kind of happy that I was able to deploy the Star Confident. Swords is pretty good. Gives us immunity from just dying to our own Confident, but also the Masticore if they have another one. Yeah, and at this point, again, the window keeps closing for my opponent. This is here. I could just buy Lurrus, but it doesn't matter. The game is gonna end before that. Opponent plays their 1 spell, and they're dead. And now we are 4-1, I believe. Yes, 4-1. So this is our win and in. and we are against either Oath or Breach. Because I don't see a Lurrus, I know it's Oath. So already I am not even thinking about this game. It's possible that I should have mulled this hand. Let's think about it. Again, I'm lack of experience, so I'm kind of learning as you are. So yeah, I think this hand is a mull. Bowmasters doesn't do anything against Oath. Plow is just not going to be enough. I think I definitely need to mull this. I need to mull this into like a explosive hand or like a Thoughtseize hand. Something where I think without Sideboard this deck, you have to win by just punching them much more than they can recover with the Oath, so that by the time that the Atraxa lands, you either have a Plow ready for it, or an insufficient board to kill them, or something like that. But this hand definitely is not a keep against Oath. Again, and I knew it's either Breach or Oath, so just not keeping that is acceptable. And so opponent plays Oath, and it's basically just over, because what am I supposed to do here? They Oko my dude, and I try to do some stuff. Like, it's just not consequent to anything, because yeah, I just give up here, especially after the Orchard, because there's just no way for me to get rid of the trigger, and so yeah, moving on. And so we're just gonna bring our Serenities and our what's his name? Our Containment Priest. So that's 7 cards in. Stony Silence, very useless. Vexing Bubble, I would have wanted to keep. But yeah, Chalice for sure not, and this probe is just not helping me at all. So with this hand, we just have to mull. We don't have color sources, so easy mull. And this is probably not good enough, but we're just gonna keep it. Mostly because I can surveil here, surveil Containment Priest, lucky me. And so we just fight for a God of Souls. Opponent plays some mana and moves on, and we just start the train. We have quote-unquote 2 answers to the Atraxa. Our opponent plays this, and so here I'm still not sure if I should be holding this Containment Priest until there's an Oath or something else, or if I just need to up the pressure. I think with this deck I prefer to just up the pressure, because it is not that much of a pressure deck if you don't have the right start. And here, exactly because with Priest I can kill the Oko, I'm just going to deploy it. Yeah, and so here, again, if there's a dismember, nothing for me to do, but at least I get rid. Just kill the Headsmaze before the Surveil, which I think I can just wait, but it's pretty clear that is happening. Time Walk just for an Explore, which is good. I was just, you know, this Priest is keeping us alive from the Oath, which might be in our opponent's hand. And Step Bowmaster, which gets forced. I'm happy to trade in that position. Like, again, so I just need them to not have an answer to this Containment Priest, and I drew another one, and so here I'm just gonna start piling in. Continue going, play Pride, and again, this is just the idea of what I was talking about, right? Right now we have 8 damage on board, so even if they go into with an Atraxa somehow, which in this case with 2 Containment Priests is very difficult, but you know, I don't know, like dress down or something, and put the Atraxa into play, I still have enough damage to put them to 1, and still put pressure. But yeah, anyway, the scoop. And then game 3, which I think is like one of the most interesting games that we had this tournament. So no changes from my side. No, I think, yeah, I changed a Plow for a Vexing Bubble with the thought of like, okay, I actually would like my forces, like my opponent's forces to be turned off. And so we get our opening hand. I think we just have to move because we don't have colored sources. Second hand just has the wrong mana. This doesn't work in any capacity, and so we open a hand that's pretty good. Here I would think of like putting Plow Wasteland into on the bottom and then playing a turn 1 Vexing Bubble. So we put the Vexing Bubble and we get Thoughtseized. Here we just waste them, which I thought this was more like, okay, I'm likely to draw and I want them to at least, slow them down if I can. Orchard comes into play, which is relatively bad for them, sort of, because I already have creatures in play. I'm always going to have creatures in play from now on. And this Orchard is going to give me life and energy, which can make the clock way faster than usual, right? So here is where I thought in the opposite direction, right? Where I am pretty sure that this Continuing Priest will resolve when I play it. So just playing it right now for damage is a little difficult because that gives them the option to dismember it being mana positive, right? They've missed a land drop, which means that they either only have forces or they have threes. And so if they have threes, I want them to be like, again, the other direction, right? I want them, if they have Oko, to get rid of my Guide of Souls, or if they try to get rid of, let's say they play a turn 3 Oko and get rid of my Vexing Bubble, I can flash in the Containment Priest in response, kill their stuff, and I still have a sufficient clock going on. But just flashing it here is a little just ineffectual because I'm giving them the chance. Also, they know that this Containment Priest is in my hand because they thought it is, right? So they might be waiting for it, and just the threat of having it in my hand when they cannot force it means that they would have to have like Boseiju for my Vexing Bubble or Abrupt Decay or something like that, in addition to whatever card they're playing. So I think here it was like too quick to put it just for pressure and just more of like, okay, I have my mana, trust my deck to deliver. So here, show and tell, where I put in my Mox and use my Mox to just pop and see if I get a plow. It's hard to tell. I think that at this point, maybe I should just like try to play Ball Masters and like see where we go. More so than drawing. But again, they resolved the Atraxa because I did a little bit of a misplay. And so just get Lurrus, see if eventually I can get this Containment Priest going. And it's even so because like, despite how much the Atraxa is going to gain them, it is not immediate that this Bowmaster Lurrus thing going on might be able to like get through it. So here, because my opponent kept a force in play in their hand with the Atraxa, I just basically am on a Caracas or nothing kind of situation. Also the time walk, so I take an extra turn. Yeah, and here I'm on like Caracas or death. So I surveil a strip mine to the graveyard and I top deck the Caracas. Our opponent is going to take this moment to flash in another one. Another Atraxa, which is going to get them the Boseiju to get rid of my Caracas. Oh yeah, I think here the review is incorrect. I think I had to restart because, yeah, it didn't pull up the recording correctly. Sometimes this happens. So, yeah, here they tap and they Boseiju the Caracas. And so after that, I just, okay, well, I have a one shot to do something. I'm going to play this Lurrus, but gets forced. And then I'm like, okay, well, I need to kill this Oko at least. But honestly, it's just very over. And the reason is just like, okay, if I kill Oko, they'll have enough mana to just replay the Atraxa. So I'm just trying. And here I was just like, okay, well, I might either draw a force or something, but it's not the case. And with the Oath, they just like slam into the Atraxa. I think they're just also going to play a Mikey. Yep, there he comes, or they come. And yeah, overall, just impossible for me. I think maybe this Containment Priest play was the decider for this game because they got the Atraxa with the show and tell when I knew, or I should have known. I wasn't really paying that much attention to this one, but having the Vexing Bubble was sufficient to go. And so overall, just as a recap, right, we were on the play here, but in such a bad matchup that it didn't matter. I think we were on the play game 1. Let me check. Pretty sure we were. Yeah, so we were on the play 4 matches out of 6, and we lost this one, and we also lost on the draw against. And we also lost on the play against Bazaar through a bad hand. So usually, because we were on the play against Bazaar, we could have definitely made a much better work out of it for the first match at least. Sorry, for the first game with the sequencing with the mocks and all of that. But yeah, generally speaking, we beat Initiative 3 times and Raker, and we lost to Oath, which is a very bad matchup, but we still had a lot of game had we played them slightly more accurately. And then against Bazaar, at least the first game and the second both had like a lot of nuance, where I think like if I play my first game better, we get there. And second game, it was mostly about just like drawing the correct cards or not. So overall, I think I would still change this deck a little. I did not like this probe at all. And without Cabal Therapy, it's almost like, why are you even playing Gitaxian Probe? Like, sure, knowing what your opponent has might change how you want to play things, but generally you're just slamming whichever. Like, you have relatively little decision points in the game, and so I think just having this is just not good enough, and so maybe like 4th Mai or something like that. On the sideboard, I didn't quite like this 3 Serenities, and if you see our metagame Monday from yesterday, or whichever day this gets published, we barely saw anything where I would want this. Oh, sorry, it's not this one. This one, sorry. Yeah. We barely saw anything that is worth having Serenity for. Like, against Jewel, Serenity is too slow, and against Flesh Raker, same old. Like, I don't think I even brought them. Against Oath, there's 4 Oath decks, but Serenity also stops a lot of your things, and it's not quick enough because let's say they have Oath, you play Serenity, and you already have a creature, you just don't get to destroy the Oath before it happens, and so you would just play Seal of Cleansing. So if I had to change the deck, I would just be like, instead of Serenity, play Seal of Cleansing, play 3, or something that destroys artifacts and enchantments. Maybe Fragmentize is good enough, just because you only care basically about these things. But Seal would be sufficient, especially because you're playing Lurrus. It's not a deck that has that much mana, so looping it with Lurrus is kind of like a big investment in time. So I don't know, maybe that is a better idea or something of the sorts. The deck felt fine, but again, incredibly meta dependent. Even with the matchups that we had, this deck did very well against Initiative. We were on the play twice and on the draw once, but also some of our opponents multi very deeply, and some of the cards they have are very good against us. So I don't know. Even inside of this Gitaxian Probe, you could just think of playing like Snuff Out. It's bad with the Vaccine Bubble, but it's still relatively mana efficient. Yeah, something like that. The deck felt fine, and it seems like a good like anti-meta call. It is sort of okay as a unpowered version, although I don't think that I would recommend it. But like, you could foresee this just being like Chrome Moxes sort of, and just playing that. If there was so much initiative, you could think of playing like either Empty Shrine Kanoshi or the Still Moon Cavalier. Although this feels like a Lurrus is very important. Alternatively, you could also just like forego this setup and just play things like Paragoy or whatever, and then you're just playing like there's a lot less reason to be white in that position, so then you just almost transition fully into the mono black aggro list that was playing. So yeah, interesting way to abuse certain parts of the meta with this. It might be that this idea is not powerful enough compared to the other similar decks with Lurrus, but an interesting exercise nonetheless. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. Please leave some feedback or what ideas you have about this deck. Would you want to try it? What changes would you do? All sorts of stuff. And I'll see you on the next video.